I won't get too far. Marty just locked me in. I might throw my mouse at you. That's getting on my nerves.
I'm afraid of mine.
That's a regular market. Well, regular market order.
Other than you, I got a chinchilla. I need to bring it. I'll let it sit right there by you. Pretty close. It's overgrown mouse.
Chinchilla.
Softest animal in the world. Cash is so proud of it. They are really cool. Yeah, it's between a squirrel, a mouse, a rabbit, the way its nose moves like a rabbit. And also like a squirrel.
Oh, yeah, you push the little button, it comes up.
It's slowly getting there.
Will it dispense a beer or anything, or just a towel?
All right, I'm going to call to order the Clark County Board of Education, February 19, 2019, regular meeting at 6:30. First thing first, the Cardinals are up 31-22, in case you're all wondering out there. So halfway through the second quarter. So if I yell or something up here, we'll know. Hopefully there's no bad words or anything. So we do want to welcome everybody here tonight. At this time, if you would please stand for a moment of silence. Now the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up is review of the agenda. Anybody have anything they want to add to the agenda or subtract or? There is nothing, then we'll move on to number 2, the adoption of the agenda.
Make a motion, we adopt the agenda.
A motion by Mr. Heisel.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Talby. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 5-0 on that one there. Item number 3, approval of minutes for the January 8, 2019 organizational meeting, January 9, 2019 special meeting, January 15, 2019 regular meeting, and January 22nd, 2019 draft budget meeting.
On the January 8th meeting, I had just a slight tweak. There's a phrase that says the board members accepted certain items, and I thought it might be more accurate to say the board members acknowledged receiving. It was the list of various papers that we received, because I think we didn't actually vote on it or anything.
I mean, how did we, I guess we'd have to put in there the wording, the way we, I mean, is it so,
We did
I mean, did
that.
we say accepted? I mean, is that how we did it? I mean, I don't think,
That's how it's been in all
I mean, the only way that we could change a motion would be to go back and add it back on the agenda.
I don't think there was a motion.
It wasn't a motion.
Okay, well, I don't,
But we went back and looked at exactly how the minutes were done last year and put it exactly the same way, same words. We used
I
the
mean,
same
is that what
words.
was said at the meeting? I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that was what was said last year, but not this year.
Which item was, are you referring to?
Let me go back.
It's the January 8th. What meeting are you talking about, Scott?
The January 8th meeting.
The organizational meeting.
Yeah, let me see if I can find the agenda. This was the board focus items. And I just thought we just simply were acknowledging receiving those as opposed to accepting them or approving them, because we didn't have a motion on it.
My computer's acting up now, Carrie.
Mine is too.
But are we still ahead though in the game?
Last here it comes.
Gotta get priorities right.
Mine's just spinning.
Better.
Maybe I'm on the wrong.
So I'm looking at the minutes from the January 8th. I do not see what you're referring to.
I'm connected to Chrome. What are we
If you're
connected to?
under 8,
Down here. I pulled it. Let me see. What did I put? Yeah,
I'm sorry, go back.
right here, the little, that thing. Hit that.
Passed out.
It's right there. It says the board members accepted the following documents by acclamation. And I thought what would be more appropriate to say the board members acknowledge receiving the following documents.
I'm fine with that. Making that change.
Okay.
I think that's good.
It's just.
Everybody
What
good
are
on
we
that?
supposed to be connected to? What Wi-Fi?
We Clark Chrome.
That's what we're connected to.
And had a one-wording insertion. You want to handle that separately?
We can look, I mean, hopefully we can do them all at once.
Okay. On the 9th, the wording says, contract negotiations for the appointment of, and I thought it should say, contract negotiations for the possible appointment. Just inserting the word possible.
Where are we at on that now? That's on the 9th.
You got number 14 on the
What was,
9th.
I mean, what was actually said that day? I mean, we would have to,
That was exactly, we went back
I
and
mean,
checked that.
I don't think we can change it because the minutes need to be exactly the way that they were said. If it's a motion, it had to be the way it
No,
was said.
the previous one was, there wasn't nothing spoken, so we printed the same way
Right,
it had been,
yeah.
but this one, we had audio.
I don't
of the
think that we
motion.
could change it, that,
Okay.
if that's the way the motion was. Okay.
Well, I didn't have the recording of it. We didn't have the video, so.
But I would think negotiation would be interpreted as possible. I mean, as possibly doing it or not doing it.
I just think, I mean, if the minutes are the minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
if that's the way the motion was made, then that's the way the motion should be approved.
If you don't mind, I'd like to pull out the 9th then so I can vote against that.
Well, I don't think you can vote against the motion. You can abstain from that, but I don't think you can vote against the motion.
To accept the,
For
I mean, to
on
accept the
minutes, I don't think
minutes.
you can vote against the minutes. You can only offer up a correction for minutes. And if it is what it says, I don't think you can vote against it. I think minutes just have to be, minutes are what happened at the meeting. And if that's what happened at the meeting, then, I mean, you could abstain from that. I don't think you can vote against it.
Mr. Thomas, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can I vote against the minutes?
Can vote against the minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I would have to see that, and I'll yield to you there, but, and that's fine for this time, but, all the stuff that I've ever looked at, that the minutes are the minutes, and, you can only offer up a correction from everything I've been told, but I'm fine with that, if that's what we want to do, so we can just go ahead with what we have, and, look for approval of the minutes of the January 8th, 2019 organizational meeting, the January 15th, 2019 regular meeting, and the January 22nd, 2019 draft budget meeting. I'll take a motion for those.
I'd like to make that motion with the provision that the 8th had that slight tweak in the wording.
Just with corrections, okay?
Yes, sir.
Motion by Mr. Heisen.
Oh, I'm talking to him, not you. Sorry.
You didn't say anything, so I'm good.
I was shaking my head no.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Tolby, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Then we'll need a motion for the January 9, 2019 special meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 9th, 2019 special meeting.
Motion by Mr. Tolby,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Richardson, all those in favor, say aye. Those opposed?
A nay.
More than one, Mr. Heisler voting nay. Any student staff recognition tonight? Okay. Public comments? Is none? Okay. Item 4, under student learning instructional services, consider approval of Heinemann literacy materials for $168,676.94. Mr. Christie?
I recommend the purchase of that. I would ask that, in this case, you note that we field tested this program at Campbell and saw good returns from the Cochrane. and saw great returns. The cost of $168,676, that includes the shipping, which you saw was about $11,000. I have been in conversations around today with this literacy group, and I would ask you to approve this at the amount, not to exceed this amount, but give me the opportunity to work with them. I think I can work the shipping out to where we're going to be allowed to pick it up and probably knock the shipping amount off completely of $11,000 and something. I can do that. We can take with a U-Haul small truck rental and pull our trailer and send two of our maintenance guys over, and we can pick it up and probably save $10,000.
Board comments?
And in the negotiations, they did throw in some other gratis materials that we were able to get more out of them, but we couldn't get the price down on them. I mean, they got us on the price.
Could you clarify that then, sir? So the proposal that was in front of us, they're going to add some more items to that for that price?
For the same amount of money, no more.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No
So
additional.
they're going to add some more things to this?
Yes, some materials for the principals and the teachers, but that's at no cost. I would ask you to approve it at the amount not to exceed this amount, with my intentions of saving the shipping on it.
You said this has been piloted, I guess?
Yeah, we used it for a year at Concord Elementary, and they saw the largest gains in that area in our district.
And
Now,
there's
the teachers at the other school, the elementary schools, have already been trained on this, so it's ready to go when we get the ordering right now. As I understand it, the ordering with them, an order by the end of this month should result in delivery before school starts, but it's right up to it's right up to almost the month school starts.
My unofficial look at Concrete last year, when I looked, and was in every category of reading all the way through, they increased their distinguished and proficiency, and they, did I say decrease? Increase that and decrease their novice in every category, so good job there too. But I remember going through there when we did that, so that's when I asked, because I think Ms. Bronke was going to present that, and I said, well, why is she presenting that? That's what I asked Paul. I said, because it looks like our scores were better than everybody else, and so they said, well, they've been doing it, so it does show some pretty good results there at Concrete.
Mr. Christie, just to clarify what you said, so do you think, do you anticipate the motion being for the merchandise amount of 157 or?
No, I would ask you to approve the amount at this amount.
At the 168?
Yeah, and let me work on the shipping, because I can't tell you exactly how much I can reduce that. I can't tell you I can reduce every penny of the shipping, because there'll be some cost with getting the truck and getting two people over there to get it picked up and getting back. But I can substantially reduce that.
Or it could be, just get it sent down LTL or something, at a better deal.
I've worked, we fooled with it all day today, and of course, yesterday they were closed because of President's Day, so we just worked with sales reps yesterday, but today we were able to confirm, and I got the weight and how it would be crated, and so we know what we would need there to pick it up, and I think we can handle that.
Other comments from board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the home and literacy materials for $168,676.94.
Got a motion by Ms. Richardson, do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 5-0. All right, we're going to be looking at those next year, so everything has to come up.
The other principals now.
That don't mean you stop either, okay? So, all right. Student Support Services, item number 5, consider first reading of calendar committee proposal. Mr. Christie.
You have a calendar committee made up of certified classified personnel, administrators, community members, parents. I think there was at least 12 on the committee that met. Ms. Richardson was our board representative. She can probably tell you more about the meetings. They come up with 2 calendars, 2 options to The biggest differences in there is the dates of the fall break. One is a Thursday, Friday break, the other one is a a Friday and a Monday break. And the other difference is pretty much the use of President's Day as a makeup day or not. You can have that, you have that discretion at any time anyway. There are 4 teacher work days I talked to you about that earlier on, we asked for that. We asked the calendar committee to consider that. There are 4 teacher work days built out pretty much quarterly in there, one prior to the opening day, so the teachers can, hopefully we'll have the new literacy curriculum in at the element, and there'll be some work they'll be doing with that, some things to do before the start of school. And there are 4 days that are in there for that, and that's the calendar, so.
That's a big.
Comments from board members?
That's what we're looking to see if fall break falls on court day that weekend, because we've been trying to put it there, because we have a lot of absentee.
It's the court day is
I think it's the
Third, it's
11th
the third
and the
Monday, isn't it?
14th.
Court day is the 18th to the 21st is what it says online.
and when is
I think it's always the third Monday of the month, I believe, so, I think. The
He
official
says
court
it's
day,
working
but
for him. Yep.
So are we to just continue the readings, or are we being asked?
actually, at this time, we have to have 2 readings of the calendar committee, or calendar proposals there, and we could come back and go over these, depending on how we want to go about doing this. I'll just tell you from my point of view, and being on calendar committees and things like this, I very much believe in accepting what the calendar committees bring to you, because they put the work into it. Like I said, we've had people from administration, from teachers, from parents, all the way through. I really hate tweaking something that they've worked hard on, but, we do have that opportunity to do that as well. We'll remind the board that we can amend the calendar at any point of the year if you want to change something, or we can take away a teacher work day if we need to because of snow days. We can take away the President's Day if we want to because of snow days. There's things that we can do all the way through. This basically gets us started and puts us in a direction. And our whole point of a calendar is to try to find the very best calendar for student learning. That's what we're trying to do. And that's why I say I like to feel like that we have experts on the committee and that they took all those things into consideration. I know sometimes we as adults have things that we want to do, but I would always recommend going with something that the calendar committee came up with. My thought, and again, this is a board decision, my thought is that we review these, give these to Mr. Christie to talk to each individual building, come back to Mr. Christie and report which one they felt was the best, and ask for his recommendation at our next meeting. Now, that's my thought. Go ahead.
Me or you?
I think.
My thoughts on it, I thought it was a really good calendar, and I think the people that worked on it, I really like it in terms of the actual days that are selected. I think it really seems to make a lot of sense, and it's a good tweak. The only comments I had were just more clarifications, that in June right now, hopefully won't need them, but just so people know that the possibility exists out there, it might be useful to include additional makeup days then also. I don't know if there's a particular limit that we would stop
we
at.
I believe in your okay, go ahead, Terry.
Well, on the makeup days toward the end of the year, we took the average of what we've had over the past several years and used those, so that those 7 days are kind of an average.
And that's what's required by the state. They require you to build in your calendar the number of average days for so many years. You're required to do that. And I think here's 7 days. And so
Correct.
one of them we show 6 days at the end, and President's Day, the other one we show 7 days. There's always times you can go more than that, but that's the reason for the 7.
Okay. I guess then my other question is, this is 173 days. versus the 176 that we had in last year's calendar. Quite frankly, I can live with 173 days if it's a hard 173 days.
Right.
You know, if it's 173 and then we say, no, let's take it down to 172, 71.
No, we're gonna make up day for day.
So, yeah, so if we're gonna make up day for day, in the final version, I think it'd be useful to clarify that. So, you know, so the public knows what the expectation is. And, you know, planning can be done that way to know, you know, we're gonna make up day for day unless some, you know, catastrophe happens, you know, we're off 2 months or
So you
something
just want
crazy
the
like
wording
that.
on the calendar.
I don't know exactly what the wording should be, but from my standpoint.
You did that last year, correct?
Yeah, there was wording on there that said inclement weather days will be made up in sequential order following last day of school. So if that clarifies that we're going to do day for day, then that's, from my perspective, I think that would be useful clarification. That just, again, is from my perspective.
Well, I guess I look from my perspective, which I, you know, sometimes I'm biased coming toward a teacher and staff member type thing. I look at that as almost like a threatening statement in there, that you're going to do this many days, by gosh, I don't care what you're going to do. And to me, you know, we don't know, we could miss 20-some, 30 days next year. We don't know what's going to happen. And I would always like that option to get toward the end of the year and look at the superintendent and say, what do you think is the best thing for the school district to do? And if that means subtracting 3 days off there, then that's what that means. If that means going day for day, then that's what that means. I just think that most staff members, if you put a statement like that at the end, they look at that as sort of a threatening type of statement that you put your foot down and you're going to do this. Well, we can put our foot down next year if we want to. And we don't have to tie ourselves into that. I mean, if we do come back and we miss 20-some days and it looks like school, we're gone to June the 10th, and the last day of school looks like it's going to be on the Monday after that, I think we would be crazy as a board to say, we're going to make up that day when we could take that day. Now, that's, again, my thoughts on those things. I mean, to me, I don't think it's necessary for a statement, I guess is what I'm saying.
I just felt that it put out there what our expectation was, with acknowledging you said that we can change it at any time, but we've said this is what our expectation
Y'all
is.
remember it? Was it discussed
We
at all?
didn't discuss it.
Okay, it was never brought up. Paul, what is your attendance usually like for court day? I know several years we've tried to plan around that. I mean, would it be beneficial to try to move at least one of them back to see what people vote to see?
What's that for that?
18th, it's the next week.
Move fall, one
Those-
county
yeah.
will fall break the next week when it falls on the total court.
I mean, I don't know. I just know at one time that was a big issue, was we had a bunch of them that were, especially the high school.
I don't recall it being that big of an issue, but I
That
don't
would've
have those
been-
figures in front of me right now. so
Right, that was
I
the
don't
Beth
know.
Griffith days, I think, because I think that's when we were all discussing it, and we pulled it. That'd be my only thing.
But I would say this on, as far as Mr. Holland being involved, if that was a huge problem, I think he would have made that known to the calendar committee at that time too, because he's really attuned to those
Yeah,
low
he
attendance
is.
days.
Other comments, calendars? You want to move on, or you want to?
I think you've done a great job on the calendar, and the committee did a great job on the calendar.
And again, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I agree with Mr. Kerr, though. I think this is, this will be well receptive, hopefully, from the teachers and community. I wouldn't want to put anything in there to give them a bad taste in the mouth as far as verbiage goes, and, say, oh, this is great, but, they didn't even put that language in there, but kind of relying on the board here to make that decision too.
We can, because this is the first reading, we can, because we're not really going to make a motion tonight, we're just, I guess we're making a motion saying we had the first reading. Just so we had a first reading, and any of that kind of stuff, when we do our motions at the end for the calendar that we want, we can make motions to any kind of changes that we want at that time. And I mean, we can, I've been on like I said, calendar committees before, and the board completely changed the calendar that's on there, I would hope that we would try to respect the people that worked on this and the time that they put through, but then again, that is a board decision, so. But any motions, we have, next month can add those type of things to the calendar at that time. So, I guess that means you've got a month to rally the troops if you want to do something different that way. So what, do we need to just
Make a motion to give first reading to the
okay,
two
make a motion
documents.
about first reading? So I would consider a motion to consider first reading of the proposed calendars, I guess, or calendar proposals.
I'll make a motion that we've read that we've considered the first reading of the calendar committee proposal.
A motion by Mr. Talbot,
I second.
second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 0. Item number 6, consider approval of new job description for maintenance worker, athletic facilities, buildings, and grounds. Mr. Christie.
You had in your packet a job description. We worked on this. Scarlett worked with several counties. We gathered job descriptions from at the state level, high school level, and went through about 10 and come up with this one we feel best suits what our need is going to be. This is something that this position is budgeted in already for next year. And as rapidly as things are progressing on the football side of things, I think there's going to come a time in the near future that we may need to consider going on and making a move on this position and filling it and getting somebody in right from the start on this turf and some things. Because there's going to be some training involved, possibly. We could get applicants that, have had the training, but
So should we look to approve this job description and also to proceed with hiring?
That's-
I mean, because that would have to come out of contingency, I'm assuming.
that would have to come out of contingency for the
Yeah, for
remainder
this
of
year, but if we did a remainder this year, but I will note that we do hire somebody at a price of $16,000, $17,000 to come in and do this for us anyway, so I would almost think that if we did hire somebody right now and got them started, that would be pretty close to the same.
That was going to be my recommendation,
Same
instead of
amount.
investing that into the person that we've been doing, that we go on and start looking and we get someone in and we can do our own soil work and grass work and fertilize and all that.
All right, board comments?
So the contractor that's doing the turf for the field, would it be beneficial to have someone on board while they're doing the field?
My
So-
opinion, yes.
Yeah, I mean, so is there any training associated with that as they roll it out?
There would be some, yes. There, in their package, there is some training for our staff to work, to groom the field and some things, so I would like to have someone that's going to be in that position, employed in that position when that happens in the spring.
Then I had one other comment, and I think it was to do with flexible hours as athletic teams are competing and out there, that they would be available.
In the interview process, we'll make that known. That's where it falls under that part as other duties as assigned to the superintendent, that we reserve that right to work their flexible hours. And that's we'll make that point in the interview process. That's a kind of assumed thing in athletics. There's some nighttime work with that, weekends, that kind of thing.
I think it's the same kind of statement we put on any employee that, that requires teachers to come back to open houses and things like that. I think those are good.
I had a couple questions. In terms of the pay rate and the number of days, is that something that will be addressed later? It's not tied to this job description, or how does it
Put
work?
the number.
I think it's a certain kind of, whatever class it is, and is there a pay scale for that, Ms. Ryan?
Well, what class would
We
it be in?
budgeted a maintenance pay scale right now above our other maintenance workers.
Lined it up with our other maintenance.
Specific duties that they would bring on.
Okay.
So, is there a particular pay class that we would be agreeing to at this point in time, or would that come later on?
I don't remember which one it was that we looked at on it. One of the, I don't remember the exact number of the class that we looked at, but it was a maintenance,
It's the class code on the job description. If you
whatever,
want to-
yeah, that identifies,
7447, whatever that is.
that identifies the,
So the pay
We
rate.
don't
would-
have an actual employee in the district that's on that class code at this point. This is a more of a very extensive, more in-depth maintenance worker position, not maintenance technician.
I think we discussed around maintenance level 2, which came in at about $20 per hour in that ballpark.
So what's in front of us right now, does that include any implication as to pay rate, or would we deal with that later on when perhaps at a subsequent meeting, we move forward with hiring somebody and then specify the job class, the number of days at that point in time?
I think we're looking at doing a work session or a special session coming up in early March anyway with facilities. That may be a good time for them to come back with that and go from there, and tonight just do the job description maybe.
Okay.
That's-
The only other question I had is the exert 75 to 100 pounds of force frequently. I don't really know about these things, so I did a little research, and that's a really heavy work to use
it's
the
a
word
bag of
frequently.
fertilizer. A bag of fertilizer would be 50, 75 pounds every time you pick a bag of fertilizer up.
But the word frequently, I don't know if, I don't want to chase away somebody just because they see that on there, and of course, since I have 2 daughters at home, I don't want to necessarily chase away somebody who may not have the upper body strength. You know, if it's needed, if it has to be done frequently, I think we should leave the word frequently in there, but if it's, you know, occasionally, that might be a better
I think
description.
frequently would more describe.
That's what I was that with me, because I'd say occasionally, I mean, I occasionally do hard work about once every week, so I wouldn't apply for the frequently part of
All
it.
right, so you all are pretty firm on that. Okay. I just wanted to double check. I don't want to ask for anything we didn't actually need.
Double-checked.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Cardinals are up 19, just so.
Up 19?
Up 19.
Yeah, that's good news.
Okay. So I guess now, just the job description is what we're looking at. So I entertain a motion for that.
Make a motion to consider approval of the new job description for maintenance worker at athletic facilities, buildings, and grounds.
Motion by Mr. Talby,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. She beat you there. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consider approval of utilizing the district's current school council staffing allocation plan and the 2019-2020 projected enrollment to develop and provide SBDM allocations to each school SBDM council by May 1st, 2019. Mr. Christie.
It's the same, using the same staffing allocation that we've used in years past. Completed the same way. It's broken down, as you'll see, by school. I'm required to give that to them by May the 1st. I like to get it to them as early as we can. That gives them ample time to start looking at staffing, make staffing decisions, and schedule decisions based on staffing allocations. My recommendation is as it's presented.
Board comments? Questions? I know this is kind of a confusing thing I looked at today, and when Mr. Christie and I went over it, there's things that I keep getting wrong all the time, trying to go back and look and do, so I mean, there's always some confusing things, but we've got some experts in here that'll help us out if we need any clarification on anything.
I spent a while going through it, and I guess last year, originally we had a quantity allocation for Baker, and it was changed later, and I guess the same sort of thing this year. This is the first pass at this, and then we'll have an opportunity to look at it again.
I think we changed their staffing allocation to Baker last year.
Yes, and the final will come back in.
Right. Other questions,
And
comments?
we agreed to look at the numbers again, that about 2 weeks prior to doing that, so we've got more accurate, these are projections, we'll look at the numbers more accurately before we come back to the April meeting.
There's no other questions, comments, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the, utilizing the district's current school council staffing allocation plan and the 2019 projected enrollment data to develop and provide SBDM allocations to each school SBDM. That's the way it was written in the agenda.
Okay.
I'll second.
Got a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. All right, item number 8, consider approval of Fifth Third commercial card and e-pay service. I think this is something that we tried in the past, but Mr. Christie and Alicia, I'm sure had comments on this.
On this one, again, my recommendation would be to pass it as it's presented. We've looked at current suppliers. The number of people who are accepting this has increased since the last time that we looked at this. It would generate some revenues for us there that we're not able to get now. A large part of our construction folks prefer this method. It's a direct deposit. It's quick return around on cash for them. It's we did take the documents. Mr. Thomas has reviewed the documents and thinks that they're in order. I don't think he can speak if he needs to, but I don't think he had any concerns with the documents that they presented as far as the legal documents.
In reading through this, it sounds like it could streamline some of the processes and actually increase or make the audit process a little bit cleaner
Yeah.
and save the district $30,000 a year.
I mean, it's gonna save
Well,
us
it's gonna
money
save
on
you.
processing and we
Yeah.
make a rebate on.
I had that conversation with Mr. Christie last time. We talking about savings, rebates, but there's a rebate and then there's a savings that we have through
The 30,000
Checks.
doesn't,
Yes.
paperwork,
That's the
Right.
rebate.
hours.
the rebates, the 30, that's a minimum.
And I did ask you a question, I don't know if you got the answer about how the rebate is handled. Is that something that is paid back to us?
Tim is here from Fifth Third, so he can elaborate on that.
Is that a yearly, or quarterly, or how is that done?
It is an annual disbursement,
Okay.
typically right around this period of time at the end, towards the end of February,
Okay.
early March is when the disbursements for that prior year.
Okay.
That's right in time for staffing allocation. That's about a teacher position.
That's a teacher
That's a
right
teacher
there.
right there.
Well, I personally think it's a great program, great idea, and I want to thank Ms. Ellis for bringing it to our attention, so thank you.
Other comments?
I support it, in terms of the control of it. It'll still go through the same process of nothing will be dispersed until it's gone in front of the board and the board's reviewed it. So I agree with Mr. Talby. Appreciate you bringing this back up, not forgetting about it, and I think it's going to be great for the district.
If there's no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve Fifth Third commercial card e-pay services.
Motion by Mr. Talby, second by Mr. Heisel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Item number 9, consider approval of annual $2,500 allocation to the 2019 George Rogers Clark High School project graduation. I think this is something we've done every year. Do we have a motion, or does anybody want to jump off that right there? I don't think we need a whole lot of other explanation on that.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Ritchie,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Richardson. Any comments or anything? I don't want to leave anybody out. If you want to say anything?
Yep, the only question is, to the superintendent, you feel like project graduation as opposed to project prom? This still makes the most sense for our district, because I know there's, some districts do it a different way. I just want to make sure we ask this question every year.
There's been no discussion to change that at ours.
Okay, I'll take that as a fine and dandy for now then.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Item number 10, consider approval of Multi Vista construction documentation proposal and agreement for the George Rogers Clark High School Field House and Athletics Project, BG 18-334, in the amount of $14,540. Mr. Christie.
Recommendation to accept that offer. That's invaluable information for us in the construction process that will last years after probably any of us are here.
Any questions on this or comments?
I have a question. I understand these are provided to us in discs. I'm assuming we're going to back these discs up?
Yeah, once we get those, and they give thumb drives, our maintenance guys can even carry thumb drives and access that information, but we have the ability to either go on our servers to save this information, to back it up, or go use the cloud, so we've got options on that.
I'm supportive of the concept. I'm sorry, Mr. Albee.
I'm almost finished.
Okay. I'm supportive of the concept, but I really don't like the pricing. When we did the gym and the stadium at 63,000 feet, the price was $15,880. This project, the price is only 8% less than that, and we're doing a much smaller area. We're doing a 23,000 square foot area. Instead of it being an 18-month project, it's a 12-month project. There's overlap with the current. And, you know, just looking at the broad numbers, I mean, it was $20 million plus project we did before, and this is $6 or $7 million project. I do not like the pricing they've given us on this, but I like the work that they've done. So my only issue is with the pricing.
And when you voiced that concern, I sent out the email, the response back from Multi Vista, and to explain to why they are where they are. Of course, you realize that some of the square footage, when you're talking softball fields, baseball fields, you got fencing, they're doing all this stuff. So it takes in a pretty good area. And I mean, the price, as far as at this point for me, it is what it is. I can't get them down anymore on the product. I will tell you, and there probably are vendors in here, we beat these people to death before we put a price down, trying to get it down. Just trust that we're trying to get everything down as much as we can. There's hours of price negotiations that goes into all this stuff prior to it ever going on to the board agenda.
Other comments, questions?
I think it's important for us to have that going forward on these buildings, on the new ones, that we can have that information for you never know what you might need it for. So I think it's going to be important for us to have.
Does this complete the Multi Vista project as far as the entire facilities out there?
With what we have going out there, yes.
Okay, so there won't be
They
any
would say
additional.
they would take us through the final phase of construction on this, and then once that's finished, their part's done, and then, you know, if you did any other construction anywhere else in the district, you could entertain bringing them back in for something else too.
And if I could clarify for the two new board members, if y'all don't have logins already, they'll provide one to you, so you
Where
can.
you get in to see it.
You can log on, you can log on and look at the picture and say, wow, this is awesome.
No other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the Multi Vista construction documentation proposal and agreement for the GRC High School Field House and Athletics Project in the amount of $14,540.
Motion by Ms. Richardson.
Second.
Second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hey,
Nay. We got 4 ayes. Just 1 nay. All right, item number 11, consider approval of builder's risk insurance quote from the Winchester Insurance Agency for the George Rogers Clark High School Field House and Athletics Project, BG 18-334, in the amount of $6,800.03. Mr. Christian.
Recommend accepting this offer. This is for the remaining construction of the facilities out there. It's the carrier that we have on the current builder's risk on the other piece of the project, and they're also the carrier of our regular insurance.
hard negotiations, you couldn't knock him out at 3 cents there out of the window. Just want to make sure.
Now I feel bad I didn't bring it up.
Any questions or comments on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the builder's risk insurance quote from the Winchester Insurance Agency for the George Rogers Clark High School Field House and Athletics Project BG 18-334, the amount of $6,800, 3 cents.
Have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Talby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Since it won't take effect till in the morning, now if I get this called in, I'll try to get that other 3 cents off for the morning.
I love that.
Time while it passes.
Just wanted to call you out on that, so. All right, items 12 and 13 are pay applications. Again, as I say before, on pay applications, we have construction managers and architects and board employees that do certify that this work has been done. So if you do have a question, please ask at this time. Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion.
I'm sorry, are we on 12 or 13?
12. I said this item, 12 and 13. I'm just doing, not only both at once. I'm
Okay, sorry about
stating
that.
that they're both pay applications. Basically, I'm saying there's really not a lot of discussion, so that's what I'm trying to say.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 12 as written.
We have a motion by Mr. Talbot,
Second.
second
Second.
by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 9-0. Item 13, consider approval of pay application number 14, Codell Construction Contractors and Suppliers for the George Rogers Clark High School Gymnasium Athletics Project, BG 16-238, in the amount of $463,141.51.
Make a motion as written.
Okay, well, we got the motion on there, let's take a second and we'll do. Okay.
What?
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Ritchie.
Since it's a higher amount, I have one question.
Well, we've got a motion, we just need to see, we can just second, we can go back and do
Okay.
that, and then we can either get rid of the motion or come back. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, do we have a second for the
I'll
motion?
second.
All right, we have a second, now discussion, okay, go ahead, I think Mr. Heisel, indicate to me first there.
Thank you, sir. I had 2 questions, and I'm sorry I didn't get this out until last night at 9:14. On page 37, it's invoice from Rexel for $1,136.67. That appears to be service charges. Is that what it is? And my other question, page 37, is the Zurhusen Holton commissioning for $2,000. I actually don't know when commissioning occurs, so I didn't know if that was appropriate at this point in time or not.
They had a kickoff meeting, that's the certification of the HVAC and lighting controls. So they basically had their initial setup meeting. So as the project, from this point forward to the end of the project, they certified that everything's installed properly, all the equipment is operating efficiently. So that's just their first.
So that's appropriate at this point in time, then. Do you know anything about this Rexel invoice then?
I don't, to be honest with you, but I will say this, regardless, once that purchase order amount is reached, the contractor is responsible for any overage of the PO. Once that PO is tapped out, it's the contract, Fate Electric in this case, has to pick up any additional cost. So, if it's service charges, I wasn't aware of that, but, once their PO is tapped out, that's the board wouldn't incur any additional expense. It does appear to look like service charge. I will say this, we've had a time with Rexel submitting invoices late, up to 30 days after our meeting, so it doesn't surprise me that they're charging them a service charge.
Do you think we should then go ahead and pay it with the hope that we get limited later on by the maximum PO, or should we accept this out, or do you have a recommendation,
I would
sir?
recommend it, like I say, Fate Electric's gonna have to put the bill at the end, any overage, so I would recommend just approve it as is.
Okay.
Good catch.
And we can work with, try to, next go, we have a meeting Thursday, we can try to get a credit invoice for that amount.
Have Mr. Tolby, question?
Yeah, I would just like to hear what the new projected dates are for the fields and the stadium. And I know weather is horrible, okay, but we get asked every day, you know, so at least I can say, I asked at the meeting and this is what we were told.
We're still shooting to have the football stadium ready for the start of the season, I'll say that. Basketball is another story, you know, obviously we're trying to get the roof on the building.
Yeah.
We gotta have 40 degrees and rising, put that TPO roof on. So if I had to stick my neck out right now, I'm going for Christmas. And that's, to be honest with you, that's pushing it.
When does Hanukkah start? Can we get a little earlier?
It's top as rain is what you need.
Yeah, I mean, it's, when the temperatures are right, it's raining.
Yeah.
And when it's not raining.
That's what it looks like this
Yeah.
week, again, temperatures coming up.
We are going to attempt to have a special meeting, either work session or special meeting, which we would like for, you know, Codell to have representation there as well as our architects to really go over where we are on this and what we're thinking, what it's going to take. And I just think it's so important if we can open these things up when we open season up. And I know open and reality are different things, but hopefully we'll have a meeting and we can really get down to where we are on that. So, like I said, public is always asking, and if we start basketball and we're still in the Campbell gym, I think a lot of people are going to be asking questions. So the better that we can hold that off and talk to people, I think the better off we're going to be. So we're going to look at having that. So, is that your only question?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion for item number 13?
Yes.
Oh, we did have that, I'm sorry, we did that, you're right, so we do have a motion. Any other discussion?
Keep forgetting about your elder.
All right, yeah, that's my old board member down there. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, item number 14, consider an approval of color board finish selections for the George Rogers Park High School Gymnasium, athletic field project, and field house. Mr. Christie.
You see the color selections, they've been in for a few days. We've taken those, the architects, the operations folks here, and the coaches, athletic director, principal. I think Mr. Heisel attended the meeting. We've met, we've talked, we've been looking at these. These are the colors that, the majority of the colors on that board tie into the high school. As a part of the high school, the terrazzo floors and those things. My recommendation would be to accept the colors over there as presented, with the exception of the floor design and the bleacher color at this point. We still have a little work to do on that, and we still have time to do that, and we'll plan on having all that information for you at your next meeting, the finalized selection on that. Everything else, everybody was in.
Some issues we could talk about in that special meeting as well, or whatever there. Okay.
And for your special call, if you're doing it in the first part of March there, sometime I can have you the floor layouts for you to look at, and any recommendations for change that we might would make, or exactly what it would look like. So you can see pictures of it before you vote.
Questions, comments?
Go
ahead.
We're going to say something, I don't go out of order.
No.
The stadium, is this for the stadium items, or some of those?
Some of this over on this side is the field, there's some field house.
Field house up
Up at the top, up at the top. And the stadium, yes, that includes your locker colors. The locker colors are the same as in the basketball gym. Those lockers, the construction of the lockers are pretty much the same, the way they're built. The athletes sit in the locker, they're 2 foot wide. They sit in an area, they can have a stool that sits out front, and they set it inside the locker. There's lockable storage above and below, open face for hanging clothes. That's the same with football. That does have all the locker room colors, the floor colorings, and the shower rooms, everything for the football stadium is there.
So the football stadium there as well. I didn't know
Yeah.
football, I thought that was just basketball over there. Okay.
So football lockers are the same size as the basketball lockers?
I think they're 2 feet wide. Coach went through them, and he was fine with the lockers.
They're 24 inches by 24 inches.
Okay.
And that's all in both
I
facilities?
thought it was too.
That's on both facilities.
Fits mostly.
That's why we talked about the stool to set up in the front
Yeah.
part, and then you can just pick the stool up and set it up inside the opening in the locker, so they don't have,
To squeeze in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just happened to be at that meeting the other day, and so there's an interior designer that's been working on this, who's tied all this together, so that got way over my head, but all the coaches were there, and I think they spent a lot of time with this, and you spent a lot of time with the athletic director, so.
Looks nice.
It's gonna be awesome. Y'all can just get it to stop raining so we can get this bill.
All right, do we have a motion with the recommended suggestions by Mr. Christie, I guess is what we're looking for?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the color board finish selections for the George Rogers Clark High School Gymnasium and Athletic Fields Project and Field House, with the exception of the floor design and the bleacher design and colors.
Yes.
A motion by Mr. Heisen,
Second.
second by Mr. Talby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 15, consider approval of change order 961 for the George Rogers High School Gymnasium Athletic Field Project BG 16-238 for a credit of $9,199. And Mr. Christie, you may want to.
I think that's to track some equipment, and the supplier was not able to meet the specs, and is asked to be removed. And then you'll see your next order of business is the next bidder that's providing the same equipment at the same price.
15, 16 are wash.
Yes, they're wash
Okay.
between the two.
Okay.
Just changing suppliers.
Questions, comments from board?
Make a motion to approve item 15 as written.
A motion by Mr. Talby,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. Was there any other comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes. And then 16 is just the opposite of that, so we need a motion for that.
Make a motion, we approve item number 16 as written.
Motion by Mr. Talby,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good. Item 17, consider approval of change order 13-4 for the George Rogers Clark High School Gymnasium Athletics Field Project, BG 16-238, amount of $810. Mr. Christie?
And look to see which ones are which here.
I think that was receptacle.
This is receptacles, I think around the top part where there's the walking track on the bottom part of the upper arena. These receptacles were scheduled to go in on the inside of that curb, around the inside of that. Looking at those, we felt those could be a possible trip hazard. So the plan is to move those receptacles just onto the inside of that curbing, which is right where the radio stations would be. So any cords that would be used there only by the radio station, so it's not going to create a trip hazard like it would on the other side of it. It's right in the area now, and if the radio station is not there in broadcasting, then you wouldn't be using the cords there, and the receptacles would just be in the back wall of the bleachers.
So they're gonna move from the floor up to that
If you
mid-level?
imagine going up the arena and then the floor for up here, they were on this side of the floor, and we're just gonna move them on this side of the railing, so the cords are not on the side where the people are walking around the floor except of the upper arena.
Questions, comments from board? I'll entertain a motion now.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve item 17 as written.
Have a motion by Mr. Heisler,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 18, consider approval change order 14-3 for George Rogers Clark High School Gymnasium Athletic Field Project BG 16-238, amount of $993. I think this is the cross break.
Yes, this is the cross bracing on the football stadium to allow access for the roof units. In the future, if we would ever need to get them out, this would allow space for them to come out and to get in to make any changes that we would need to make.
Questions, comments? Entertain a motion then.
I make a motion on number 18 as written.
Written by Ms. Richardson. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ritchie. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? 5-0. Item 19, consider approval of change order 17.5 with GRC Gymnasium Athletics Field Project BG 16-238, the amount of $39,002. I believe this is the water line, I believe.
Yes. Mr. Hart's, I'll go on record saying I don't like this price either, but trust me, has been negotiated down tremendously from where it started out. It's where we're having to cross the blue line stream that's there to get to the sanitary line on the other side of it.
Could Mr. Codell show us exactly where this is going to be, what they're talking about? Because I tried to I did an overlayment of it, I just want to make sure what the issues are. Where you can.
If he could take that map, he could put that on. Can you put that on the?
I think he has to take that and put it underneath the,
I don't know if he's.
I don't know if he has or not right there.
He could put that there.
Tell me where to put it.
The tennis courts on
Yeah,
right
down
there.
below the hill, on the bottom of the hill from the tennis courts.
John Hagan, this might be helpful to you also.
This is the sanitary.
I'm gonna move it in there where you can see it really well.
It's on the far back of the property.
Back behind
Yes,
the
this is.
tennis courts right
Will be
there.
the tennis court area.
Creeks in the bottom.
High school's back behind us here. This is the sanitary sewer line that is to be installed. And from basically this manhole to the existing manhole down this end is where that stream will be crossed. The contractor went, pulled their permit, the Division of Water got involved and said, well, when they came out and did their inspection, they discovered what they did discover. When they said, this is a blue line stream that you will have to cross, which, as you well know, I think from the previous project, changes things drastically. But basically, it's from this point to the existing manhole, we'll have to cross it. Like I said, this is in the bid documents. The contractor knew this line had to be installed, but the fact that it is crossing that stream changes their scope of work drastically. They have to encase the line in concrete, dig this down below the stream, which is all rock below it, so it's roughly 6 feet of rock excavation, and then, of course, the permitting. But like Paul said, we've been beating on this thing since July of last year, so this is, Green Mechanical is basically passing their subcontractor's cost on, and that's it. I think they had 5% markup on it, that was all, just to get past this. So it's an unforeseen condition that we have to deal with. This, and we explored, and Brian can attest, explored all different types of routes, all of which would have involved adding manholes, which would increase the cost more than what we're looking at today.
We paid to cross to get over on this, now we got to pay to cross back. On the first project, we paid to get across it, now we got to pay to come back across it.
But Shrout Tay Wilson tried every which way in the world to route this some which way to avoid crossing that stream. It just wasn't possible.
So which stream are we talking about? If you look at the GIS map, where GIS has, it's got the main stream down here by Old Boonesboro Road. And then it has what, in this sort of ditch line, it has another blue stream. So when I overlaid this, it looked like that the sewer line was to the east of this, I'll call this, is this ditch stream, is this the
Right. That's it.
$230,000 blue line stream?
So it's down this way that
So
you're having to do?
where's it crossing? Because it looks like they've avoided it.
Of course, now this blue line is not exact.
It's a generalization
Yeah.
of what's happening there. And so
Okay.
that's part of the issue.
That's
is that
kind of what started
our
the question.
engineers, when they designed the connection to the city manhole is directed on that side, try to keep everything out away from that blue line, just as you see on that piece of paper. In reality, what's happening, again, this is an intermittent blue line stream, so the vast majority of the time, there's no water in this. And so when you're out walking around the site, it's not apparent that that's that when they designed this, that was crossing anything that was going to be identified as a stream. It was not identified as a stream on the site survey either, which would have obviously been a red flag during design to incorporate all the provisions for a stream crossing. I think that this came about when the Water District's site inspector, field inspector came out, and as they started kind of pathing it out, they determined that that section there actually does loop up to the north, and that was why it was flagged as such. And when we looked at this to try to find another pathway around that, it was going to involve going up further to the north, possibly adding a second manhole, because it was going to have to bend back down to the manhole for the water district. And so the issue there is that would have been a larger cost than what we're seeing here. This is the path of least resistance still for accessing that manhole.
But you are correct, the design intent was to stay to the north of that if possible. And that's not been possible.
Are you with Codell or RTA?
I'm with Ross Ryan.
Okay.
I'm Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Project architects.
Nice to meet you. I'm Scott.
Nice to meet you.
So obviously, since you all were involved in the 2011 issue, you all knew exactly where the stream was.
So that's correct. What happened on the 2011 project was a swale that ended up getting filled in on the kind of the southeast side of the site. That portion of the work ended up covering up what was also determined in the end to be an intermittent stream that led into this area, this depressed area that then led into Lower Howard's Creek. So that work was performed, and retroactively it was determined that that was a blue line, and that was a fine. And so that's what if I'm getting all of that information correct as you recall. So it's a different scenario here because this is something that was provided for during the design in terms of accessing that manhole as we were directed. It was not apparent to the engineers that this portion of that site there where they passed through was not identified as part of that stream line.
So let's give them, let's say that they knew exactly where it was because this additional knowledge is filtered down to them. Now that they have this additional knowledge, realistically, would it have changed their design any?
No, because like I said before, the only way to get around that, based on where this pathway is working, is you would have had to go further up to the north and then add another manhole and then come back down. So that is one option. The second option would have been for them to install a lift station, because this is what's considered a gravity feed down to the manhole. They would have to install a lift station, which is closer to probably like $100,000 worth of work to do that.
So while there might have been a shortcoming in terms of the knowledge that was brought to the table, even if that knowledge was brought, if they had that knowledge, it still didn't change the end result, and there's no way around.
Like I said, this still would have been the path of least resistance to access that manhole for the city.
You concur?
Oh, completely. Like I said, we've been trying for months to find any other option. This is it.
Looks like the initial email was or document was November of last year when it came up, or was it earlier?
No, it was much earlier. It was back in summer.
Oh, okay.
Other questions, board members? I entertain a motion then. Thank you all.
I make a motion to approve change order 17-5 for the George Rogers Park High School Gymnasium and Athletic Field Project in the amount of $39,002.
Motion by Mr. Tolly, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, those say aye. Item number 20, consider approval change order 18-5 for GRC High School Gymnasium Athletic Fields Project BG 16-238, amount of $2,283.49. Mr. Christie, you think these are conduits and stuff like that?
It's another piece of the moving the conduits and the outlets. It's with a different.
This is the electrical side.
This is the other side, yeah. We just did the mechanical piece, this is the electrical side.
Questions, comments from board members? I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion as written.
Motion by Ms. Ritchie, do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Talby, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those all there. Item Item 21, consider approval of change order 19-9 for GRC Gymnasium Athletics Field Project BG 16-238 for a project credit of $4,896.
It's we're able to delete some concrete pavement, an area of 5 feet 10 inches wide by 108 feet long, and this is the cost of that reduction.
Questions, comments, other than yay?
It's over on the visitor side of the field is where this is.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion as written.
A motion by Mr. Ritchie. Second. Second by Mr. Heisel. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Internal board business, item number 22, consider approval for board members to attend National School Board Conference March 30th through April 1st, 2019. I think this started as a request from Mr. Heisel because I think he has family that lives up there, but I did want to add that, you know, having attended national conferences before as a principal and things, there's some pretty valuable information that you can get, and I would not mind seeing board members at least once during their 4-year term or longer if they continue to be elected to maybe consider going. And I don't think I really want to put any kind of price limit on this right now, but I think sometime in the future we should do it because there'll probably be some pretty good places those things will be. So if we wanted to put a limit on it, but I'm in favor of people doing this. I think anytime we can expand that like that, I think it's a good thing. Mr. Heisel, if you want to add anything, because you've resourced it much more than I have.
No, it did seem interesting when I realized I've got a daughter up there. I thought, wow, I should, even though it is the weekend before the Final Four.
Put it on the agenda, sorry, for all the board to go and spend the weekend with your
Yeah, so if
daughter.
anybody else wants to ride,
Not a skinny couch, but a lot of floor space.
Central office.
I'd say if you're going, Scott, plan on chipping in gas mileage. So.
Well, that actually probably was my, you know, I asked some of the board historian what's happened in the past. Around some years, the entire board's gone. Some years has been partial pay. I think in terms of splitting a reasonable path on it and being respectful of the taxpayers, that I was thinking maybe if the board would pay for registration fees and then mileage, and then if the board, whatever board members wanted to go, they would pay for their own meals and lodging, and then you could try to stay on my daughter's floor if you like. That might be a reasonable path on
I think I would be more for putting a number on that or something, or saying, you know, because I don't think you should pay for your own lodging or whatever if you go. But I also understand that if, you know, if it's in San Diego or something, that, you know, there might be flights or things like that involved. But if we just, you know, put some kind of a number or, you know, something like that, so you could decide, well, if I'm gonna go to San Diego, the board's gonna pay for my room, and I'm gonna pay for my flight way and getting out there or something. I mean, I just don't think if we're gonna go and you're gonna bring back knowledge that you should have to pay for your room and board. That's my thoughts. The board members, I mean, and I don't think, you know, it's gonna be something that any of us want to do every year that we're gonna do that, but, and we may not do it. I just think we should have that option open as long as, you know, we still have funds available and we feel like we're doing something valuable for our district.
So are you saying that proposing the board, we would authorize payment of the fees and then normal expenses, like if
This is internal board business, they don't ask my opinion on this, so.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would think something like that, you know, we would expect the board to pay the registration fee, and I'll just throw a number out there, and you got $1,500 to get your room or whatever, and travel and everything else. That's just my thoughts. Now, obviously, if this came and it was in Louisville, that might be a different scenario or something, so, but I just, you know, I don't want to limit anybody and say you can't go, but I don't want to say, you know, if it's in San Diego and we all decide to go next year, we all want to fly, and we all want to stay at the Renaissance and, you know, the whole thing. I don't want it to make it look like that as well.
That could be a fun road trip to San Diego.
Yeah, it'd be a real good one. But, you know, I just, you know, I don't want to limit, I guess, what I'm trying to say, but I think if you're driving up there, and I just don't see any reason why we could not pay for room and board on that. That's my thoughts right there. And how many days is it?
It's, you can go to early session on Friday, and then it goes through half day on Monday.
I'd say most of the time, those are at hotels, are gonna be $300-400 a night probably, is what most of them are. I mean, they don't have these things in small places, so I mean, I don't have any problem with putting a $1,200-1,500 cap or something on, something like that, but I'll yield to other board members as well.
I think out of respect to the taxpayers, to get your point, as, I think there should be, all of us shouldn't go.
Right,
It should
I
be
agree.
2 or,
Right.
I don't know if we want to put number 2 or 3, it's well, we've got, 5, so.
Rotating.
A rotating
This year,
type.
some go, next year,
Yeah,
some more go.
and then bring that knowledge back and,
We flip the coin on the good sites or.
Right.
yeah, something
But
that,
I mean, some people may not want to go, may not
Yeah.
express interest. I mean, since Mr. Heisel did this year, I just.
The elders get first pick.
Okay, we'll go that way then, okay. So, I mean, those are my thoughts on it. I just think if you bring something back that's going to benefit the district, then I think it's well worth what we do. Because I know we have, staff people that attend national conferences and do things like that, and they bring back valuable information. So that's my thought. And we want to just go this time and tell Mr. Heisel just to bring back those, the receipts or whatever there, and that kind of gives us a good idea of what it's going to cost, and then we can go from there. He's pretty tight, so I don't think we'd have to worry about him doing too much, so, I think he would take care of our money when he goes up there. I don't have a problem with that myself. But
I agree. I'm in favor of
You
that.
do that?
Okay. So the motion,
so we just need a motion to approve board members to attend the
We're
national
approving the ship's got off.
with, we'll just say with,
going one way on
with expenses this time, and we'll see how it goes.
One-way
I'll
ticket.
make a motion to consider approval for the board members to attend the National School Board Conference.
With
With March 30th through April 1st in Philadelphia,
We'll say with expenses, just to make.
with expenses.
Okay,
Yes.
as prescribed in our board.
Policy.
Board policy. We have a motion by Mr. Thompson,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Put in my order, you know what I'm asking you to look for? Is there a program we're looking for?
Cardinals won by 36.
Yeah.
I think it was tough while I was in the line at Arby's.
All right, next are consent agenda items right there, so we need a motion for approval of items 23 through 46.
We have a discussion.
Well, you're pulling out, I'm sorry, I should have asked you. You can pull any item out if you need to at this time.
Here's one. Item number 40,
Item number-
Metro Energy report.
Any other items anybody wants pulled out?
I just want to discuss that one.
And I just want to make a couple comments about the contingency funds that's being returned to the budgets on some of the others. It's just going to be an overall comment on some of those.
Do you want me to pull it out for discussion, or do you want to?
Yes, please.
Okay, 45.
No, sir, I'm sorry. I meant to say on, I guess, 28 and 29.
Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about, the BG5s.
Yes, sir.
28 and
29.
29. But we'll just go in order. We'll start with item 28, consider approval of BG5 for Robert D. Campbell Junior High School perimeter edge metal replacement project, BG 17-143.
I'm going to pull up the exact numbers on this. For 28 and 29, I just wanted to compliment everybody involved. There were contingencies that were set aside for this project, $9,400 on item number 28, and on 29, pull that one up.
$1,009.
There were $16,000 in contingencies on that, and we didn't use any of that due to your all's good management of it, and I'd just like to thank you all for that.
That's your comment?
Yes, sir, it is.
So we'll just include it in there then, but we don't need to do that separate.
Okay.
Item number 40 then, acknowledge monthly energy report. Mr. Hawley?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're doing all we can at the high school to conserve electricity during the night. I've had, and I've seen it as well. I know, Mr. Christie is, I think shared with me that at 11 o'clock at night or 11:30. But I've been there, coming home from the airport late at night, and it's lit up like Christmas tree, everything is. So, the sign out front, I don't know how much energy that takes, but I've had, one constituent ask me about it as well, so I thought I'd bring it to the board's attention and see if there's things that we can just verify and validate.
We are set up on our timers to where it goes, the campus goes dark completely at 11:30. Now, the exception to that is if somebody comes in and enters the building and doesn't undo, it turns the lights back on. It'll turn the lights on again. And if you saw that means somebody's been in the building, and we're still working on how we can get around that, and they should go back off after a certain time. But the intent is, the schedule is they go off at 11:30.
Okay.
The facility, with the exception of the marquee up front, there should not be a light on in the facility from 11:30 until 5:30 in the morning. At 5:30 in the morning, the corridor and the stairwell lights come on. At 7 p.m. or 7 a.m., the lights in the rest of the building come on.
Because they change if
They
trips
change.
are coming in late. I mean,
That's
things are coming in late.
why that's what happens sometimes if they come in past that 11:30. That's why we
It stays
drive it.
on.
And it'll stay on until somebody shuts it off, and that's what you've seen.
There is a procedure with one switch that can get inside the security office that will turn all the lights off at one time, so we probably need to move this.
We'll do that if coaches or somebody's coming in, and when they come into the building, bring kids in, the lights come on for them to come in, and they're not backing up and shutting everything down.
Okay.
But it's designed to go off at 11:30 instead of 5:30 in the morning. The sign out front does not have a timer on it anyway. It's all LED. It costs probably a couple of $100 to put a timer on it. It would take several months, probably what you would save on the LEDs to recoup that. But that's something that we are looking at, the possibility of a timer on the marquee up front. That's the only
That
thing
is
that should
awful
be on.
bright at night, and it's been
It
all
is.
night. It's just, and I don't know, since it's LED, if it's even worth it.
We
You know,
kind of like the light around the front of the property.
When I was just going through that, I usually don't look over them real good. I know I did see Campbell's on there, and I think the billing was like $50-some a
Yes,
month
that
or
was
something
cheap.
like that. It's more close to this. I don't know what it was at high school, but I kind of like having it lit up when people go by there. So
Well, it looks
I
nice.
mean, that's my opinion, but I understand where people are coming from, so. And I think it's something that Mr. Nichols and Mr. Christie can look at.
Okay.
I don't know if they can power down some. It doesn't look as, I don't know.
We'll have to look at the marquee and see what we can do on it, to dim it or something.
Well, I was just more concerned with the overall.
But there is a plan that it
Okay.
should go, and law enforcement's well aware of it, and they know that they see lights on anytime after 11:30, they know that somebody's on the property or has been on the property.
So you're good with putting this back in?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we need a,
You raise a good point though, Mr. Talby, but later on, we'll probably, in the year, we'll be discussing rental rates. And I think we ought to give some thought to having rental rates that, from a heating and cooling standpoint, include heating and cooling or do not. Because I know there's, let's say it'll be a set point, lower, and if somebody wants to rent the facility, if you want it, let's say you're gonna use just a gym and it's okay with you that it's cold, you might have a rate for without cooling or heating and then another rate with. Something to think about later on. Because I know as facilities get to be used more, it's not free to heat them up in the wintertime.
okay, we will need a motion to approve consent agenda items 23 through 46.
Make a motion to approve consent items 23 through
46, right?
27, right?
46.
I'm sorry, 46. 46,
A motion by Mr. Talby, second by Mr. Heisel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everybody's there. Item number 47, authorized payment of salaries and accounts payable.
I'll make that motion. They seem like good people.
All right. A motion by Mr. Heisel,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Before adjournment, just a couple things, I was looking at, a special work session or something like that on March the 12th, trying to get around all the basketball tournaments that we have. So I don't know where people stand on that. I would say just get back with Mr. Christie or something in the next couple days or something, whether that works for you or not, and we'll look for something else. If not, but I know right now it's kind of hard to say with regional tournaments and everything coming up right now, trying to find that date where nobody will be there. Also a reminder to people that the ag luncheon is tomorrow at the high school from 11 to 1. That's a really good thing, so I invite you to be out there. At this time, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to
Motion
adjourn.
by Ms. Ritchie.
I'll
Second. Second by Mr. Heisel. All those opposed say aye. Aye. Thank you all. Meeting's over. I've got 7:54. Thank you all.
Thank you.